There was a study done by the Downtown Management Group that talked about comparing Houston's downtown residents to the population that was here now versus the ultimate potential drawn from many other cities. The Urban Land Institute did that and concluded that number was 20 to 25,000 people, and we compared to what was happening in other major cities. In the course of roughly 10 years, we had one project built to do that. The Downtown Living Initiative, when we came forward a year and a half ago, put it in to start moving us toward that direction from the roughly 2,000 to 3,000 that lived here at that time. Since we first did that initiative, we have actually had now 13 different projects come forward that are in various stages of development. We concluded that there was momentum to do this. Ultimately, if the 5,000 units that covers the all downtown area is fully implemented, that will put us about halfway there in a critical mass of what we see downtown's density being. And we will, at that time, we'll make a decision whether we need to do any more, but our view is once that critical mass is assembled downtown, then there would not need to be other economic incentives.
I guess part of the, and we've talked about this before, but the critical mass being roughly half of the total estimated units.
Right.
I feel like most often when we talk about critical mass, it's not 50% of the ultimate goal. Is that really needed, particularly as the economy is just picking up? Could we see the momentum continue if we held off a bit to see if more projects would be?
We made a judgment that it was needed when we looked at the extra cost of constructing downtown. The other issue that happens with residential, and this is a standard development tool, if you talk to any developers, retail follows rooftops. It is our view once that critical mass is needed, we've had a lack of retail in downtown. We believe that will follow, and we believe this is needed to make it happen, to really start to continue the momentum that's on right now.
Mr. Akins, what are you doing to bring in retail? Because Houston downtown is a particularly strange animal. Retail has found themselves continually leaving, even when it comes to the downtown mall. What is it that you're doing in conjunction with the residents to bring in retail downtown to make Houston a viable mix of retail and residents?
We had a task force the mayor announced and put together a year ago. It was led by several people, and Bob Uri was on that, and Wolf from the retail business was on that to give us some insight into that. The message we heard over and over again was, while there is certainly a market here for office workers, there's a market for conventioneers and visitors, what really needs to make retail work is more downtown residents. We concluded that our first priority was to demonstrate that there was going to be downtown residents, and that's what we've done. Our next step, and we have reinitiated several conversations right now with retailers, and we believe given what council has done already and what they have done today and what the marketplace is doing, we'll initiate those activities.
Will
One
this
of
be a
the
coordination between
recommendations
parking
of the
and
task
police
force
department?
was to subsidize, go for it.
Does this mean the coordination of the policing authority as well as the parking authority? Because a lot of residents and people that come downtown feel that they're unwanted, they get ticketed, booted, and a lot of them can't even find parking after dark because so many people are using valet parking to take all the parking spots.
Well,
Is there going to be coordination to get retailers down here with so their customers to be viable?
We agree parking is a critical part of doing things. Our own valet parking ordinance does require people to have off-street parking when we do that. Certainly, all of the projects that we've talked to have brought residents downtown, although it's not required for them to have parking, every one of them has had sufficient parking for the projects themselves that recognize that residents want it. There are a number of issues that need to be worked, and I think in conjunction with the Downtown Management District, they're addressing all of them, including the ability for people to understand where parking is available and make it easy and convenient. Right?
Given that the retail task force recommended subsidies in some cases to get retail downtown, does this residential subsidy to get the rooftops in place, does this mean that it is less likely or not likely at all that future retail will be subsidized?
We don't know the answer to that right now. We've begun those conversations. The first part of the conversation was we don't have a market enough. Now that we've had that conversation, I think it's realistic to expect that most of the parking that could be converted to retail today is in parking garages, much like Tony has said. can those be converted at low cost, and we get a retailer interested? Usually, retailers know where their markets are and go there. We'll deal with the question of what are the economics of those in the course of the next 6 months.
Things that are
Well, you know,
closed
the
but
Super Bowl
not
is coming.
attached.
What are you doing to make
Attach
sure
your
that we have a nightlife, a retail life,
Because if there's no
as well as a
attachment,
good
then it's
restaurant
so
life
big.
downtown for
Yeah,
the
but you
people
said
who
it's
are
not
coming in from all
apartments,
over the country
Yeah, so big
to be a
condos
part
or
of the Super
condos,
Bowl
townhouses.
It's
experience.
attached but
I-
not apartments.
Yeah.
Certainly, the Super Bowl committee and the fact that the El Centro part of the Super Bowl is around the
Because the
GRB,
thing is, you
and
can put
the
this in a
extensive
lease,
discussion today on
but
the
you can
new
also put it
hotel,
in a condo.
recognize how important that is to downtown. And frankly, if you take a look at what exists downtown today, the least problem we've had is restaurants, is dry goods and other
Yeah,
areas.
instead of saying,
But we would believe, again, that as people move downtown, that will naturally come. Most of the projects that are being approved right
so that
now
would be the
will be
additional
well in
cost on
place
existing
before
houses.
the Super Bowl comes, so the residents will be here.
It's more of a development
What
type
are
thing.
some, the timeline for some of these, new downtown residences?
You've got one that's actually topping off and will open in 2 months, Sky House, right on Main Street itself. There are, if you go down by Market Square, Heinz has already fenced off the area behind Frank's Pizza area right there, for example. Marvy Finger has got a project right across from Minute Maid Baltimore. So several of them are out of the ground right now and working. We have over 10 contracts signed. And the important point of the Downtown Living Initiative was not only the incentive and the cost drive, but we have been at the table with the design characteristics of all of those projects. Ground floor retail is part of the requirement for someone to do this. So in the interest of having a pedestrian-oriented environment, we just didn't want apartment houses that had just sidewalks in front of them. So we have been able to be at the table with this program.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aiken.
Okay.